Thank you. I now recognize myself for a closing statement. So just heard some interesting things that your department is in favor of consumer choice, and yet it's either 50% would not comply or 96%. Regardless, they're both large numbers, and we're talking about less choice and limited choices. And then a colleague of mine said that this is going to result in massive savings and less pollution. Well, who would be against that? Everybody would be before that. That's ridiculous to say that. Unfortunately, it's not true, that statement. Saving money and reducing waste. So we're to be told that the federal government is going to save us money and reduce waste and is going to be highly efficient and make sure our products are. So it's a question of really, do you trust the federal government or do you trust the private sector? And many people trust the federal government to be more efficient than the private sector. I'm not amongst them. I believe in the private sector. I'll give you an example. There was a home builder that in Texas, as you may imagine, we have a lot high electricity bills in the summer, and they had a really insulated home, and they would brag about it because instead of $700 a month in electric bills that you would have in a regular home, their insulation was so good it was only going to be $60 a month. They did that on their own in the free market because it was a selling point. I almost bought a house. I didn't even really like the house, but I like $60 a month bills for electricity in July. So I trust the free markets and the private sector to say, hey, look at my gas stove is so much more efficient. You're going to use less energy. I'd like to use less energy. And then we had a colleague say that she was bragging about Bidenomics, and Joe Biden lowered inflation. I mean, that is really high quality spin. It really is, because the inflation rate, everybody agrees, was 1.4% before he got into office. It's 3% today, which is 214% higher than it was when he took office, but somehow magically he lowered it. That was a peach. But in 2021, it was at 7%. In 2022, it was at 6.5. So if a car cost 20 grand back in 2021 when he took office, and if the inflation rate had remained constant, that car would cost $20,852. But where we saw the inflation rate actually go, that car would cost $23,475, or $2,623 more, or 17% more than it would have otherwise cost. But magically, he lowered inflation for us. So I want to thank him for that. And I'm grateful for the Department of Energy to decide finally to, Dr. Richmond, for you to be here and to testify today, and that you recognize Congress's authority to call witnesses and discuss Article 2 rulemaking authority. So if anything, that was a plus and a win for our republic. So this Congress and the majority has established a relentless pursuit of holding the administration accountable for what we believe are unclear, unlawful, and un-American regulations. The fact that the Department of Energy had to publish a misinformation page on home appliance standards on the agency's website tells the American people that we all need, tells us all that we need to know about the administration's priorities. We've seen that in responses to the majority's questions even today. We've also heard them loud and clear in the earlier hearings on gas stove rules with non-governmental witnesses. We've even heard the Vice President, Kamala Harris, call on the United States to reduce population in recent climate change speeches, which is rather an unbelievable statement from a Vice President. This administration simply does not care about what's best for the American people and disrespects how much Americans, I trust the American people to live their lives in the best way possible. This Congress on the gas stoves rule became a lightning rod for debate on governmental overreach extending into those choices. Because what can be more sacred than an American's right to a gas stove? Even beyond the gas stove rules, the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy has expended countless taxpayer resources in a backward effort to limit customer choice. Gas stoves, light bulbs, dishwashers, clothes dryers, gas furnaces, water heaters, air conditioners, refrigerators, and as we heard today, the list goes on and on. This is something of the likes of which the American people have really never seen. It's important that we hear from the department on the development processes, the substance of all proposed and finalized rules related to home appliances. Because another thing that really concerns me is passing a rule first and then seeing its effects. I'd rather really know what the effects are going to be before a rule is passed. And career bureaucrats that we've seen across the administration are running wild with EPCA to take certain products off the market with unjustified cost analysis, vague health studies that since have been walked back, and de facto bans on healthy and safe products the American people rely every day on. The unelected agency employees apparently have no check on the practicality of the rulemaking, considering that the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy doesn't have a confirmed official to hold it accountable. But not only that, the department leadership does not even have the subject matter depth to understand the breadth and impact of these rulemakings, considering the DOE needed to have over 2 months to decide if its staff was even going to be ready to testify before Congress. And the agencies need to step up and stop passing the buck. So I am very glad that you were here today. Just look at what the DOE is doing with energy efficiency standards, but even the proposed rules still in draft are garnering significant pushback, like energy efficiency standards for water heaters. But listen, I want to thank you all for coming, and you have to understand Congress can't and won't pass the buck. We are elected by the people, so we have to do our jobs. And in conclusion, I urge the department to reconsider, reevaluate, and withdraw some of these proposed rulemakings in light of these valid and pressing concerns. We're all about efficiency, and again, I trust the free market to be as efficient as possible because it's a selling point when you're selling your product. And I look forward to working with you to achieve these results, and I want to thank everybody here, and thank you very much. With that, the